Good evening, everyone. How you guys doing? I'm Angela Pearson. I'll be your host for the evening. I have the pleasure of serving as the Deputy Director of Operations for Mayor Tishaura Jones, and I'm so grateful to have you all here with us this evening. Thank you to Confluence Academies for opening your doors to us as we are here in the beautiful Sun Theater at the Grand Center Arts Academy. This evening, we will see their students showcase their many talents through the arts with music, dance, spoken word, and some of you may have seen the art in the foyer from their art students. Next, to help us with the presentation of the colors, we will have the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Honor Guard, followed by a rendition of the national anthem done by the Grand Center Arts Academy Symphonic Band and Camerata.
Carry, code. Forward, mark. Mark time, mark. Detail, halt. Left, face. Present, on.
Thank you again to the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Honor Guard and the Grand Center Arts Academy Symphonic Band and Camerata. Next, I'm very excited to announce Reverend Lauren Bennett, who will do the invocation prayer. Reverend Bennett is a graduate of St. Lawrence University and was ordained in 2019. She currently serves as the lead pastor at Metropolitan Community Church of Greater St. Louis. Let's welcome Reverend Bennett to the stage.
Good evening, friends. Will you pray with me? Communal God, breath of life, loving Spirit, we thank you for the opportunity to come together, to listen, to imagine, to co-create. We thank you for the rich history of St. Louis, and we thank you for the incredible talent of our community in all ages and spaces. We thank you for the opportunity to bear the weight of the future of this city and all of its beauty, complexity, and brokenness. We invite your presence into this place tonight as we gather across differences for the sake of our common home. Fill this room with the spirits of the ancestors who look upon us, asking us to live with prophetic imagination. Fill our hearts with gratitude and excitement for what we can do together. Fill our minds with creative curiosity. Ease us into the spirit of connection, the spark of life, the hope for humanity, and the hope of our siblings of the natural world. Holy One, bend our wills toward what is best for our community instead of what is best for us individually. Grant us the wisdom to think not only of our children, but of generations to come. Allow us the space to consider new perspectives as we hold on to our convictions with loose hands, imagining an even better, more equitable, just future beyond any of our individual understanding. Incline our ears and hearts toward creating a community where everyone has enough, where no one goes to bed hungry, where each person has a bed, and no child has to fear violence in their homes, schools, or streets, where everyone is allowed the freedom to practice autonomy over their bodies and spirits. Holy One, in a time of great division and worry, lead us and offer us a new way of being, one of grace, where we listen more than we speak, and where we are open to challenge. Guide Mayor Jones tonight in addressing her citizens. Guide all of our speakers and performers. Guide us in our listening and in the questions upon our hearts. Guide us as we seek to support the multiple pathways toward human flourishing that might be fashioned in working together for good. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Bennett, for that heartfelt prayer. Next, I'm excited to have our next speaker, Dr. Candace Carter-Oliver of Confluence Academies.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here tonight in the magnificent Sun Theater, part of the Grand Center Arts Academy campus. I'm Dr. Candace Carter-Oliver, CEO of Confluence Academies. GCAA is one of 5 Confluence campuses throughout the city of St. Louis. At Confluence, we recognize that success inside the classroom depends in part on the world outside the classroom. Therefore, to support our students in school, we have built a network of community partnerships to support the whole child, providing everyday necessities so they can focus on learning and being great scholars. The collective impact of this effort not only benefits our students and their families, but our community as a whole, lifting our neighborhoods and making St. Louis a better place. Tonight, this theater is filled with you, people dedicated to building up St. Louis, and we are honored to host Mayor Jones's State of the City address. This evening will highlight many examples of people and organizations working together in creative ways. The Grand Center Arts Academy motto is Creative Genius, and I encourage all of us to continue thinking and acting creatively in service to St. Louis and to our students who build its future. Mayor Jones, thank you for everything you do to make our city better. And finally, my thanks to our talented and dedicated students and staff whose talents you'll see just a sample of tonight. I am so proud of them. Thank you again for being here tonight in the sun. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Carter-Oliver, for having us here. We really appreciate you opening your doors to us this evening. I'm excited to announce Jemiah Davis, who will be doing a spoken word piece called Black Girl Magic. It was written by another student here in Montgomery at the Grand Arts Center, and I'm really excited to have her show up and show us what Black Girl Magic is this evening. Jemiah, come to the stage.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jemiah Davis, and I will be reciting a poem written by Montgomery Price titled Black Girl Magic. There's a rumor about black girls. I'm not sure it's true. They say that we possess black girl magic. A black girl's magic. Apparently, it enables us to do what we set our minds on, but what are our minds set on? Are our minds set on success, the humble kind, the kind that lets you know how you are as a person, as a black girl? And when you are a black girl, a couple of things are there. Check boxes. Overexploitation, exposing the signs that you are a black girl. The boxes above your head saying you look, act, react, think, feel a certain way. In a way about this world. This world that purposely corrupts us. Media and music and clothing and news and people and each other? Each other. How can that be? It'd be by influence, talk, walk, act, peer pressure. It'd be like, she did this or said that. It'd be like, listen to me, another black girl, toe to toe, trying to keep you in the know. To know about the things that we see and do and say have meaning. The world is watching over you because you are a black girl. And this poem is a message, black girl to black girl. It's us against the world, girl, not each other. And here, I've explained the story, the existence, the resistance of us, of black girl magic, of a black girl's magic. Thank you.
Let's give another round of applause to Janaya. That was amazing. Thank you for that captivating poem. Next, we'll have a dance ensemble from the Grand Center Arts Academy. They'll be performing to Optimistic by the Sounds of Blackness. and that was the Grand Center Arts Academy Dance Ensemble. Now it's my honor to introduce our next speaker. Like every good leader, I feel like every leader needs a hype man, a hype woman. And so Fatima Muhammad, Executive Director of Be Well Farmers Market and Cafe, will be giving an introduction speech for Mayor Tishaura Jones. So let's give it up to Hyde Park resident Fatima Muhammad.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Fatima Muhammad, founder and executive director of the Be Well Farmers Market and Cafe in the Hyde Park neighborhood. I am honored to join you all this evening to introduce my friend, Tishaura O. Jones. I am a longtime Hyde Park resident and owner of a thriving business. I am a social, transformational entrepreneur. I'm on a mission to empower, provide opportunities, and create sustainable ecosystems. I grew up in the city until the age of 12. To this day, I remember the closeness of my childhood community in what is now called the Wells Goodfellow neighborhood. We knew all of our neighbors and leaned on them in times of need. My family had deep roots there. My father was a business owner all my life. He owned 3 neighborhood grocery stores and a farmer's market on Broadway, which is now in the 14th Ward. I worked at the neighborhood grocery store and farmer's market as a cashier. I remember working on the weekends. It was a hub of activity. I looked up to my father as a visionary. He expanded his business model to include the farmer's market that sold fresh produce from local Black farmers, along with staples, meat, and baked goods. Folks from various neighborhoods and cultures shopped there weekly because of the fresh products. The affordable prices didn't hurt at all, and my father's pleasing and shining personality. One of our grocery stores was located directly across the street from the regional chain Tomboy grocery store. I'm going to take us back a little bit, which was the start of food gentrification. Food gentrification drives out local, affordable food options. It is a multifaceted operation that changes neighborhoods and class and demographics. For communities marginalized by their race or ethnic background, it means both the deprivation of culturally important foods that are made trendy and unaffordable. As these foods become more popular, the original cultural purpose is diminished. Our local cafes, restaurants, neighborhood grocery stores, and gardeners are important because they understand the cultural significance of our foods. My family eventually moved to Normandy, but St. Louis taught me what it meant to live in a community and the inherent values of a close-knit neighborhood. Through a career change, my husband and I returned to the city in 2008. I saw the impact of decades of neglect throughout the city, specifically North St. Louis, and I realized I had an opportunity to change the dynamics in Hyde Park, the place where we decided to call home, bringing back a life to a beautiful row home that has sat vacant for over 15 years. At the time, high levels of vacancy and lack of services and businesses plagued the neighborhood. The closest grocery store was, and still is, over a mile away. It was a disinvested community with no tax base. I knew my neighborhood needed a catalyst that would bring about the necessary changes that we all needed. I founded the Hyde Park Neighborhood Association in 2018. Together with residents, we sought to protect the historic fabric of the neighborhood, promote economic development, and restore vibrancy to Hyde Park. I met Tishaura in 2017 while she was still our treasurer, and we connected instantly. It was an event on Cherokee Street. While I don't remember the exact details, our conversation had a vision. She shared her vision for the city of St. Louis, and her fierce tenacity remains with me. She stood in her power and represented the best interests of the city fiscally. We share the same vision for St. Louis, that no matter what neighborhood, we should have the opportunity to thrive. It is a vision that involves flourishing neighborhoods and small businesses, access to healthy food options, opportunities for our young people, and safe places for our babies to play. Many people go through life without knowing what their core values and benefits are, but that's not Tishaura. Tishaura's values are her guiding principles that give her leadership meaning and purpose. Values of dependability, accountability, and perseverance radiate throughout her actions. Shortly after our meeting, my vision for Hyde Park crystallized. I dreamt about the gateway to Hyde Park. I envisioned children running up Salisbury Street to the park. I imagined Generation X and baby boomers shopping at the upscale neighborhood marketplace, seniors chatting and enjoying the neighborhood coffee shop. And I dreamt of a culinary incubator and co-working space where creative minority women entrepreneurs could come and collaborate. After retirement, I took a leap of faith and purchased an LRA property at 2027 Salisbury Street. There are 2 buildings on the parcel. In the 1900s, the front building was the neighborhood post office, and the adjacent alley house was the communal living space for immigrant laborers and their families, who were responsible for building much of the beautiful housing stock in North St. Louis. We began by stabilizing the building. We rebuilt the rear wall, added a new roof, gutters, tuck pointed the entire building, and installed new floors, windows, and doors. Then the real work began. Interior demolition, installing new plumbing and gas lines, electrical, carpentry, and the list goes on. During the thick of construction, Tishaura and I stayed in touch. We ran into each other at neighborhood forums or meetings. She was never too busy for a quick conversation or a word of encouragement. She always showed up for the community and for me, even when the progress was slow. We were headed in the right direction. Construction gained momentum. Then, out of nowhere, COVID arrived. And overnight, everything changed. We had to pivot. My dreams of an office, co-working space, and coffee shop paused. As you remember, there was a lot of uncertainty during that time. It was not safe to gather in person indoors, and we didn't know where or when the quarantine would end. In the early months of COVID, I met a small group of entrepreneurs and local residents on Zoom. We shared stories and offered support and advice to each other. We talked about how important it was to have a neighborhood store with fresh vegetables and fruits, especially now. The idea for a farmer's market rose to the top of our conversation. A farmer's market was never in the plan, but it was part of my DNA. It was only natural that I took the challenge on. Our farmer's market was developed to provide access to fresh, wholesome food grown locally by sustainable farmers in a community that suffered from food access long before COVID hit, and a safe place for our neighbors to join us. People from across the region gravitated to the market. Families and young people from the Central West End, Compton Heights, South City, North St. Louis descended on Salisbury at 21st Street. Market growers devoured bean pie, fufu, hibiscus tea, and Swiss chard. They were excited about the COVID-safe food demonstrations that we provided. The market appealed to a diverse audience, and the Delmar divide became irrelevant. Through the early days of the market, Tishaura showed up. She supported local vendors like Heru Farms, Confluence Farms, George Washington Carver Farms, Living Ancestral Plants, The Dangling Carrot, Hosco Foods, and The Vegan Way, and a host of others. On blistering hot St. Louis summer days, she meandered through the market, reporting on what she cooked with the last bounty from last week, encouraging vendors, swapping stories, and parenting teenagers, connecting with our market goers, or sharing new opportunities for the vendors. Residents always approached Tishaura, some eager for a photo or brief hello, or others were frustrated and wanted to talk to her about their concerns. She was always patient, honest, and fair, explaining that our city did not get in the condition that it's in overnight. Decades of disinvestment, lack of resources, redlining, health, and economic disparities led us to this point. Our city's challenges spanned decades and countless leaders. Systematic transformational change is like eating an elephant, one bite at a time. You have to start somewhere. Mayor Jones not only has the vision for our great city, but now has 3 years into her administration. She has the actions to back it up. Our vibrant small business community not only survived COVID, but now, due to the investments like the Northside Economic Empowerment Center, business owners have access to valuable resources that can move their businesses forward. Through their leadership, we are stabilizing vacant homes on streets like Bremen, Genevieve, Bacon, and Emma. Thanks to the senior property tax freeze, seniors are aging in their homes and not being displaced because of rising property taxes. Behavioral health workers embedded in our 9/11 response efforts are saving lives and keeping people safe. New jobs and workforce development are headed to St. Louis through the old Killark Electric Facility at Dr. Martin Luther King and Vanderventer. These are all innovative, transformative projects that combat years of disinvestment that we've seen in our city. You see, everything comes full circle. The cafe, culinary incubator, and co-working spaces are all slated to open this summer, and the Farmers Market Pavilion is slated to be completed this fall. Through Tishaura's tenacious, steadfast, assured leadership, I am excited about the future of our great city. Now, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome my friend and our visionary leader, Mayor Tishaura O. Jones, to the stage.
Good evening, St. Louis. Good evening. Thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you to Grand Center Arts Academy for hosting us this evening, and to Dr. Candace Carter Oliver for your warm welcome and gracious remarks. Thank you to the Grand Center dancers for your moving performance. Were you entertained? I was entertained. And thank you to the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department for the presentation of the colors. Reverend Lauren Bennett, I'm grateful for your insightful invocation. Thank you for helping us to center our reason for being here today. And thank you, Fatima, for that introduction. Thank you for your tireless efforts to bring your vision of Hyde Park from a dream to a not too distant reality. And I look forward to the ribbon cutting with you. I'm going to take a moment to recognize the elected leaders from across the region in the room, President Megan Green and members of the Board of Aldermen, Comptroller Darlene Green, Treasurer Adam Lane, Circuit Attorney Gabe Gore, Collector of Revenue Greg Daly, and License Collector Mavis Thompson. I'm going to give a warm and hearty thank you to my staff and cabinet members. If you are on the staff or cabinet of the mayor's office, please stand and be recognized. And most of all,
I want to thank the people of St. Louis for tuning in. I know there's a million other things you could be doing with your rainy Tuesday night, or whenever you're watching this in the future, but you're making the right choice. Today, the city of St. Louis is safer, stronger, and healthier than we were last year. And next year, we'll be safer, stronger, and healthier than we are today. Tonight, we're gathered in the Sun Theater in beautiful Grand Center, the central part of an arts district that breathes creative life into our city. 10 years ago, this theater sat empty. Like other buildings in St. Louis, the Sun had been neglected and abandoned for decades. The roof was barely there. The walls were water damaged and crumbling. And I even heard a rumor that it was once scheduled for demolition. That was 10 years ago. Do you remember what you were doing 10 years ago? At that time, I was in my second year serving as your treasurer. I had big dreams then, like modernizing the office, opening the Office of Financial Empowerment, and starting the College Kids Children's Savings Program. And under the leadership of Treasurer Adam Lane, it has grown to over $2 million saved for 24,000 St. Louis children, and our oldest cohort is in the 8th grade. As I worked with my team to deliver my campaign promises, I saw that too many parts of our city were just like the crumbling walls and missing roof of this theater, forgotten, abandoned, neglected. And over the last 3 years, my administration has worked tirelessly to face these challenges head on and begin the work of making changes that you can see and feel so we can build a safer, stronger, and healthier St. Louis. In my own life, I've been both the victim and the perpetrator of that same kind of neglect. In June 2022, during a routine visit, my doctor told me I was pre-diabetic, a serious health condition affecting 1/3 of our country. See, pre-diabetics have abnormally high blood sugar, setting the stage for type 2 diabetes. It can come from eating and drinking the wrong things, too many cakes, pies, and cookies, too many sugary beverages, too much pasta and other carbs, and not enough exercise. See, I've developed some bad habits to deal with the stresses of being a mom, a mayor, and a strong Black woman literally carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders, and I began neglecting my health. Prediabetes was the consequence of that neglect. Prediabetes isn't new or unique, but I was unique because I knew about my diagnosis. And according to the CDC, 80% of Americans with prediabetes don't know they have it and are most likely to become diabetic. My doctor wanted to put me on metformin, a common drug used to treat diabetes, but I told her, give me a year to fix this. And I set a course to make myself healthier, and today, my hemoglobin A1C is back to normal. I am no longer pre-diabetic. And I'm making lifestyle changes to stay that way. The last year, I stood before you feeling like a busted can of biscuits. But today, I'm feeling much better. I'm working out, eating healthier, and drinking plenty of water. Now, has it been easy? No. But is it absolutely necessary? Yes. I can't be the best version of myself for my son, my family, or even you if I'm not healthy. This isn't the first time I've been vulnerable with you about my personal health journey. In 2020, I talked about my surgery to remove fibroid tumors. See, I'm sharing these things with you to remind you that I am human, because many of you also might be dealing with similar issues. But no matter what ails you, the truth is simple. Taking charge of your health requires you to make big changes, and you can't just go back to your old ways. You have to keep working at it. That change has to be sustainable. Our beautiful city is like the human body. She's a living, breathing being, and she has some health issues that need to be addressed. Taking charge of our city's health will require all of us to make some big changes, and that change has to be sustainable. Her roads are arteries, a major part of her infrastructure. Arteries are the necessary veins that pump blood through the system, or in this case, sending people and commerce flowing through the city. So we know these arterial streets in a different way. Our major roadways have become dangerous, and that can make routine commutes difficult and sometimes frightening. See, my son turned 16 last year. Lord, pray for me. And last week, he got his driver's license. And I know the nervousness that comes with letting him go out on his own. See, currently, he's only allowed to drive to school and back and get something to eat within a 1 to 2 mile radius of our house. But our goal is to make it easier and less nerve-wracking for everyone to drive on our streets, especially our young people. First, we've taken the historic American Rescue Plan Act funds, or ARPA, from the Biden-Harris administration and are putting them to work on paving, lighting, and traffic calming measures on our roadways. That means that your trips down Kings Highway, Union, Grand, and Goodfellow will be smoother and well lit along the entire route. Construction starts early next year, and I want to thank BPS President Rich Bradley and Streets Director Bethany Williams for their continued work on improving our roads. On top of these investments, the Automatic Camera Enforcement Act will help make our streets safer by holding reckless drivers accountable. We've been working diligently to make sure these technologies will be used to reduce traffic violence, not target already vulnerable populations. I know these smart technologies need oversight. Before the Automated Camera Enforcement Act became law, I signed an executive order ensuring that the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, or SLMPD, is completely transparent about how they use it and how that affects you. Earlier today, SLMPD published its first transparency report, giving us insight and oversight into how these types of technologies are used and the safeguards that are in place to uphold your rights. In addition, we're holding bad drivers accountable. SLMPD wrote over 32,600 citations in 2023, and the addition of cameras will help bolster their efforts. But enforcement is just one of the ways that we're working towards a safer St. Louis. We've also received funding from the Missouri Department of Transportation to help more young St. Louisans get driver's education while resulting in a whole new generation of safer, smarter drivers. Once again, I thought about my son the day we were awarded these funds. I thought about all the mothers who will worry just a little less when their babies get behind the wheel and maybe save $1 or $2 on insurance. We aren't just making it safer for you to get around in your car. Everyone deserves to feel safe getting around St. Louis, whether they're driving, biking, walking, or riding public transit. In 2017, St. Louis voters approved the sales tax increase to help fund the MetroLink expansion, and as a result, we've set aside $90 million for a new light rail line called the Green Line. This week, we formally began the project development phase, which we expect to finish construction in 2031. The Green Line will also connect to the red lines and the blue lines and will give St. Louisans the ability to move around the city for jobs, education, and entertainment, reducing the need for a car. And this summer, construction begins on the next section of the Brick Line Greenway. Once completed, the Brick Line will run from the Arch to Forest Park with connections from Tower Grove Park to Fairground Park and the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. Through careful planning and intentionality, we are changing and expanding the ways you can safely get around St. Louis. The safety of everyone who lives, works, and visits St. Louis is my #1 priority. Full stop. The health and vibrancy of our city depend on our ability to work, play, explore, and get around without fear. We must address crime at the root cause holistically and sustainably. That focus has paid off so far, and our crime stats are down and moving in the right direction, but we still have more work to do so everyone can feel safe in their neighborhoods. Last month's Cabinet and Community was held at Better Family Life on Page Boulevard, just blocks from my home. Several people told us how common it was for them to hear the sounds of gunshots and how uncommon it was to get a quick response from law enforcement when they called 911. I know how they feel. It's my neighborhood too, and my family and I hear gunshots just like they do. They told us that although they heard that crime was down in St. Louis, they couldn't see it in their daily lives. Like the woman who lost her son to gun violence in June of 2022 and started an advocacy group to help mothers dealing with that grief. So I get it. Yes, crime rates are down in our city, but they're not where we want them to be, because one family affected by gun violence is one too many. Last year, St. Louis experienced its lowest homicide rate decline in a decade and the largest year-over-year reduction in crime in over 90 years. We have reduced juvenile shootings by 50%, and we've seen a 36% reduction in car thefts over the last year. And I'm thankful to Chief Robert Tracy and the SLMPD for helping us accomplish these milestones. And we can do even more. We're taking a regional approach to crime focused on 3 pillars: prevention, intervention, and enforcement. I created the Office of Violence Prevention in 2022 to leverage all tools across city government, enforcement, community violence intervention groups, public health, to keep communities safe. Under the leadership of Will Pinkney, the Office of Violence Prevention, or OVP, has established partnerships with more than 30 community organizations focused on crime prevention and intervention, and has served more than 3,000 residents over the last 2 years. In 2023, OVP helped divert over 550 911 calls to behavioral health responders, and our crisis response unit helped St. Louisans in over 6,500 cases. In February, Chief Tracy and I joined the OVP and Show Me Peace for a peace walk in the Dutchtown neighborhood. We marched side by side with dozens of community members to stand strong against violence and honor the lives lost to it. Look for a peace walk coming to a neighborhood near you. Another way we prevent crime is by reducing poverty. Mahatma Gandhi reminds us that poverty is the worst form of violence. And that's why St. Louis has joined more than 20 cities across the country in piloting an innovative, forward-thinking, guaranteed basic income program for city school children and their families. The GBI program gives 540 families payments of $500 a month for 18 months. The goals are to help strengthen, support, and sustain families and communities, which makes them safer and stronger. Yes, thank you. I met with some of the participating families last week. One of the moms that stood out to me told me how this program has helped her work fewer hours as an Uber and delivery driver so she can spend more time with her beautiful 5-year-old daughter. We also know that a key pillar of crime reduction is intervention, and the reality is that police are not the answer to every call. Sometimes when you dial 911, the right response is a mental health worker, a violence interrupter, or another professional, rather than someone with a badge and a gun. The collaborative work of Chief Tracy, Will Pinkney, Chief Dennis Jenkerson, and Public Safety Director Charles Coyle has made historic changes to our alternative emergency response, like cops and clinicians and 911 diversion programs, which include behavioral health clinicians in our 911 center. These programs divert calls to crisis counselors and mental health specialists in order to provide individuals with the right response, reducing the need for police and EMS response, and limiting hospitalization and incarceration as a result of a crisis. Those aren't the only changes we've made to how our city handles 911 calls. There's nothing more frustrating than calling 911 and not seeing a response for minutes or even hours. The city's fragmented 911 system has delayed services for decades and is built on bottlenecks that we've had to redesign. We've worked to consolidate staff and invest in the development of our personnel by cross-training our dispatchers. We're moving everyone to a single software platform to prevent duplication, and we gave our dispatchers the long overdue raises needed for retention and recruitment. Last year, we answered just over 50% of calls within the first 10 seconds, and the national standard is 90%. Today, I'm proud to report that more than 80% of 911 calls are answered within the first 10 seconds. But those aren't the only actions we're taking to help make our city safer. Earlier this year, the East-West Gateway Council of Governments approved and will begin implementing the Save Lives Now initiative. We set an ambitious goal to reduce homicides and shootings in our region by 20% over the next 3 years. Most violent crime is committed by a small percentage of the population. Save Lives Now recognizes this reality and engages these individuals with the goal of diverting them through focused deterrence, teaching them there's a different way through cognitive behavioral therapy, and using credible messengers who can earn their trust. Transforming public safety doesn't happen overnight. It took a new holistic approach to public safety to get us where we are today, and we have to keep pushing. Our future depends on it. While we're working to make St. Louis safer, we're also working to making it stronger through economic development that uplifts families, supports small businesses, and helps to build local communities. We're making our neighborhoods stronger. We're making our downtown stronger. And we're making our entire city stronger for anyone who visits, works, or plants roots in St. Louis. It's still true that owning a home is the best way for families to build generational wealth. However, homeownership has never been easily accessible for Black and brown families, and the rising cost of buying a home makes it even more difficult. Building a stronger St. Louis includes giving the families the opportunity to plant roots here and let their family tree grow like my grandparents did when they bought our family's home in Hamilton Heights over 70 years ago. Under the leadership of Neil Richardson and the St. Louis Development Corporation, we are making homeownership affordable through the Home STL program by providing up to $50,000 in home buying assistance for St. Louisans buying their first house in the city. And under the leadership of April Ford Griffin from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and Noelle Pfeffer from the Community Development Administration, we have over 2,000 new affordable housing units in the pipeline. Like Raquel, a preschool teacher who recently bought her first home through our partnership with Habitat for Humanity. She fell in love with a rehabbed home in South City, and much of the integrity of the original house was still intact. From the hand-carved pocket doors, to the staircase banister, to the exposed brick wall in the front foyer. Raquel was brought to tears as she thought about how much her 5-year-old daughter would love this house, or how her retired father will find a new renewed purpose in helping to grow a garden in the backyard. She can now focus on completing her degree in education, knowing that she's building generational wealth for her family. No matter if you buy a home tomorrow or bought it 70 years ago, we want you to stay here. We want your children to stay here and your grandchildren to stay here. And that's why the City of St. Louis recently implemented the senior property tax freeze. And I'm proud to say that more than 4,000 senior citizens have frozen their property taxes. This makes it easier for them to stay in their homes as their neighborhood improves. And thank you to City Assessor Michael Dauphin for your work on bringing this crucial support for our seniors. I talked earlier about neglect. You know what I'm talking about. Overgrown grass, broken windows, buildings falling apart. St. Louis deserves better than dilapidated homes and entire neighborhoods left to fail by absent property owners and developers. Using ARPA funds and other sources, we're tearing down 1,000 abandoned houses that have been eyesores for years. We've also invested ARPA funds to stabilize privately owned buildings and bill the owners for our work. We've stabilized over 60 so far, and there are many more to come. But that's not enough. St. Louis deserves better. $2.5 million of ARPA funds are being allocated to renovate homes near St. Louis public schools. With safer streets and renovated neighborhoods, kids in St. Louis will have the opportunity to walk safely to school like I did when we lived in Walnut Park. We're also providing tools to help homeowners stay in their homes and get help with repairs. The Healthy Home Repair Program received $15 million in ARPA funding, and we've more than doubled the number of houses we served this year from 150 to over 300. But this is generational work. It took generations to get here, and building vibrant neighborhoods all over St. Louis will take time. See, our city is like the human body. The roads are her major veins that keep people and commerce flowing, and the small businesses are the heart. They keep her blood pumping. In April last year, the City of St. Louis and SLDC launched the STL Small Business Grant Fund to assist small businesses that have been adversely impacted by the pandemic. To date, that program has distributed over 900 grants at $5,000 each. We also launched 2 new programs for small businesses and nonprofits on 314 Day. Wait a minute, it's good, it's gonna get better. Scale Up STL and Mobilize STL. Scale Up STL will help small businesses and nonprofits get access to capital if they can't get traditional financing. And Mobilize STL will help contractors and vendors on major construction projects get bridge financing. See, we're not only supporting existing local businesses, but we're also building an ecosystem to help St. Louisans start new local businesses. So you saw it earlier before the speech on the big screen. The old Killark electrical plant at MLK and Vanderveer will soon have a new name, the Monarch on MLK. Once redeveloped, the Monarch's 15-acre site will transform into a world-class, transit-accessible workforce development hub designed to prepare St. Louis residents for high-paying, in-demand careers. It'll also be the permanent home of the city's Land Reutilization Authority, the Office of Violence Prevention, the St. Louis Agency on Training and Employment, and the Northside Economic Empowerment Center. Powered by SLDC, the campus will become a hub for the community and an economic engine for our city. See, the Monarch is a symbol of transformation, hope, and rebirth, a symbol of the changes that you can see and feel in North St. Louis. And it will help weave together St. Louis's ancestral roots with inclusive opportunities for generations to come as we continue to become a global destination for industry and innovation. So we're supporting businesses on the front end and then getting out of the way. A few weeks ago, I signed a bill making it easier for restaurants to get their liquor license. Some people are excited about that. We had the signing ceremony at Beyond Sweet, a new restaurant on Delmar Boulevard owned by my friend Dallas Holland. She opened 3 months ago and talked about wearing herself out for hours, knocking on hundreds of doors in the neighborhood when her restaurant opened just to get her liquor license. She should have spent that time promoting her business, training her staff, developing her menu, and all of the other difficult work that goes into opening a new restaurant. She had to spend months telling her neighbors that she was a responsible business owner rather than just showing them. Now, under our new system, most restaurants will be able to get their liquor license much quicker without sacrificing the integrity of their community. See, this new law allows newly opened restaurants to get a 90-day temporary liquor license for that essential time after a restaurant opens, when their success and the jobs of their new employees hangs in the balance. We're creating jobs locally while building our international footprint. St. Louis Lambert International Airport is on the brink of embarking on the largest public project in our city's history, a $3 billion consolidated terminal that will transform our airport to meet the demands of the present and the future. St. Louis is a world-class city, and we deserve a world-class airport. And thanks to Airport Rhonda Ham Niebrugge, we hope to have one by 2032. When I talk about a stronger St. Louis, I talk about ARPA funds, the historic investment from the Biden-Harris administration that's helped us reimagine the future of St. Louis and begin to make that new future a reality. You probably won't be surprised to hear that when I mention the almost $500 million we received from ARPA, the question I'm always asked is, what are you doing with that ARPA money and why haven't I seen any of it? Yeah, I understand, it's your right to know. There are some signs around the theater that have a QR code on it. Scan it and it will take you to our website, our new website, Stronger STL. It gives you information about how to apply for ARPA-funded programs like Home STL or Mobilize STL. And you can find our transparency portal so you can see exactly where the money is going. Like I said, our city's like a human body, and her limbs are our healthy workforce. Earlier this year, I announced a hiring freeze on new non-essential jobs. This was a difficult but necessary decision to financially protect our city. And it's not the only difficult decision I've had to make to protect our city's financial health. We also had to add a $23 million contingency into the budget to offset the potential impact of a tax on our earnings tax. So if Jefferson City doesn't pass any laws decreasing our earnings tax by the time session ends this Friday, I'm happy to say that we will lift the hiring freeze on Monday, May 20th. Our city has been plagued by slow and inefficient technology in our hiring process for decades. Do you remember last year when I held up the paper cards still used by our personnel department? Well, last week, under the leadership of Director of Personnel Sonia Jenkins Gray and our Bloomberg Harvard Fellow Kritzia Lopez, the city launched a new hiring website powered by new software that will make it faster and easier to apply and get hired by the city. Our city is like the human body, and her mental health is just as important as her physical health. See, the Behavioral Health Bureau, launched by Dr. Mati Slachwayo Davis, has led to over 275 linkage to care calls in the community, over 2,500 doses of Narcan distributed, participation in over 140 outreach events, crisis response training for city employees, and the awarding of over $1.6 million to organizations doing this critical work in the community. Today, they're taking an average of 20 to 25 calls from residents weekly seeking help with mental health and substance abuse. Less than a year ago, one of those calls was from a man named Craig, who lost his job and apartment as a result of drug abuse. During one of our outreach events at a local encampment, Craig was given the phone number of our Behavioral Health Bureau, and he called it for help. Through our linkage to care work, Craig was connected to Midtown Salvation Army for substance abuse disorder treatment. After treatment, he moved into the Living in Victory sober living housing to continue his care. And thanks to the BHB and our partners, Craig is living a clean and sober life. Investing in a healthy future means investing in our youth. See, as a mother, I'm always thinking about how the decisions I make will affect my son and children like him in the future. St. Louis's youth have a unique perspective that they can offer when we're making decisions about their future, which is why it's my pleasure to introduce some of my guests tonight, the Mayor's Youth Cabinet. Please stand. These are the young leaders in St. Louis who are helping my administration keep them in mind when we make big decisions about the future of our city, because our children deserve a safer, stronger, and healthier St. Louis. We've got 3 days until the end of the legislative session in Jefferson City, and that can't come soon enough. Kansas City and St. Louis provide more than 2/3 of the general revenue of this state. Your tax dollars pay for infrastructure in rural Missouri. But if you've seen anything coming out of Jefferson City lately, you'd be mad as hell. They're trying to take over our police department and put it back under the control of a corrupt Confederate-era state board that would have our chief answering to 5 different bosses. See, we've seen that before, and our answer will always be the same: no. Y'all want to do a little call and response with me? They're also trying to hurt our city financially by reducing or outright eliminating our earnings tax. We've seen that before, and our answer to that is also no. See, the earnings tax pays for things like our police and fire departments, our parks, and our streets. And anyone who says that people are leaving the city or won't come here because of our 1% tax, I call BS. They're trying to block the ballot and restrict access to abortion. We've seen that before, and the people say, no. We know abortion is health care, period. I'm proud of the Missourians that signed the petition to put abortion on the ballot and put Missourians back in charge of their bodies. And I'll be voting yes when that amendment is on the ballot later this year. And just like far too many years before, Jefferson City Republicans are going after our LGBTQ+ community. We've seen that before, year after year after year, and our answer remains no. Last month, I got an email from a grandmother in Canada who was bringing her transgender grandchild to see a Stevie Nicks concert. She heard about the attacks on transgender children in Missouri, and she was afraid for their shared safety. See, as a mother and a mayor, it's devastating to think that any child would feel unsafe being in our city simply because of their identity. See, I replied to that grandmother with a clear message. You and your beautiful granddaughter are welcome in St. Louis. St. Louis is stronger, safer, and healthier than we were last year. But it would be irresponsible for me to stand before you today and claim total victory. I've been in this office for 3 years, and many of the challenges our city faces go back decades, even centuries. They can't be fixed in 3 years or even 1 or 2 terms. But if we keep doing the work, our future will look brighter and brighter. To me, our future looks like generations of healthy families living in safe and growing neighborhoods. Our future looks like St. Louisans taking public transit to work and to school. Our future looks like safer streets no matter how you choose to get around. Our future looks like creating safe spaces for our young people. Our future looks like workforce development connecting families to sustainable jobs. Our future looks like safe and vibrant neighborhoods. Our future looks more inclusive by sending our PSAs out in several languages and hosting naturalization ceremonies in City Hall. Our future looks vibrant, and it's not too far off. See, 10 years ago, this theater didn't look like it did today. It took a lot of hard work and a complete overhaul to get it to a place where it can host an event like this. I'm also doing the work to get to where I want to be. And the hardest part was changing my lifestyle. I changed the things I ate, the things I did, and I changed the way I thought about and talked about myself. See, how we talk about ourselves and how we treat ourselves matters. If we constantly put ourselves down or make unhealthy choices, then we become what we put out in the universe. But what if we change the narrative? What if we change the way we talked about our city? What if we change the way we treat our city? What if we spoke life into St. Louis every single day? You know I always end with asking you to do something. Last year, I asked you to meet me upstream, and many of you responded to that call. So this year, and from now on, I'm asking you the next time you hear someone talking trash about St. Louis, you straighten your spine, look them in the eye, and tell them, you don't know what you're talking about. St. Louis is my city, and she is in the middle of a renaissance. And we have several reasons why. We have the best sports fans in the country. We punch above our weight in arts and culture. We've got great restaurants to satisfy your taste buds. We have world-class universities and healthcare. You can find a good job and a good education here. Our cost of living is very reasonable. We've got the best tasting tap water you've ever had, and we have plenty of it. You tell them every day we are doing the work with a capital W to make our city safer, stronger, and healthier for many years to come. And most of all, you tell them that St. Louis has a mayor who loves this city and its people with all of her heart. Thank you all for coming. God bless you and your beautiful families. Good night, everybody.